You really live in this.
Yes.
What's going on
Well, it breaks the ice. It's a great way to meet people and foster the causes that I believe in. And one of which is get out of our house. That's GOOH.com. And it's a nonpartisan plan to evict all the career politicians in the House of Representatives. Anybody who's an incumbent.
That'd be pretty much anything.
Yes, it would. We believe that anyone that's been there more than a couple of terms, it's time for them to get out. Correct. When we have Ted Kennedy, 47 years, Robert Byrd, 56 years, that's totally out of touch with the people.
What about Samuel Adams? You really identify with him?
Samuel Adams,
essence.
well, one of the things he said for our time is, if ever a time should come when vain and aspiring men shall possess the highest seats in government, our country will stand in need of its experienced patriots to prevent its ruin. And that speaks to us today.
Do you think of the Constitution as a living document that almost frozen perfectly when it was first made?
Well, it wasn't perfect because they wanted to keep the South in the Union. It was very fragile. However, I think that the main tenets of the Constitution today are fine. That we don't need to change the Constitution. I think what we need to change is a lot of the values that we have that we've gotten away from with the values of our republic. We're not a democracy. We're not established as a democracy, and we're certainly not a socialist country. We should go back to our Republican roots, small R Republican.
Do you think that all that my theory is here this weekend is, do you think the Republican Party almost created this by accident because they sort of ignored some people? And then they just grew so quickly as an answer to that?
Well, 1 year ago, you would have not have seen me standing here. I've never been involved in politics other than to go cast my vote.
So there's a golden moment then where you make this decision?
Yes, and well, in November 2008, when McCain lost the election, that was the most depressing moment politically for me in my life. Not that McCain would have made the best president, but I knew that we were going to get something worse than what we would have gotten with McCain. But in retrospect, we believe that the election of Barack Obama did something good by activating this movement and getting everyone involved and saying, wow, we're really going down the wrong path. We really need to get our country back right. We need to get our education system correct, get it back right with God. And that's mainly what we see, is that, God has been removed from everything, and that part of our value system has been stripped away, and we need to get back to those values.
Do you think Stellmacher would have been welcome here, that she was originally hoping to come?
Yes, I was disappointed that she didn't.
She often expresses the idea that religion and government are really intermingled in her.
That's very much so. I think that the rights that we have are not endowed to us by our government. They are endowed by our Creator. There are unalienable rights. Those that are stated in the Constitution are just, the Constitution is just a protection and limit the federal government's power, and express the sovereignty of states and of the people, we the people.
Tonight we have Sarah here, and I've seen that before in Minneapolis. Do you think she would be a good candidate for president?
I'm not jumping on the Sarah bandwagon yet. My concern at this point is the congressional elections in November. And once we get past that and we see what the Congress looks like, then we can start concentrating on the presidential election. I'm from Louisiana.
Louisiana?
Yes.
So there's interesting politics there, isn't there?
Unfortunately. Too interesting.
I'm come from Minnesota. We've got a giant debate right now about our state budget. And Pawlenty's put forward a bonding bill. He may run for president. It's often rumored that he will. He's really restricted this. And the Democrats are saying instead we should be using that bonding bill to create jobs, because we could make more bridges, more schools, things like that. Where would you fall on this? Would you want public spending on these things? Government spending?
No. I think the government should quit spending money and should let the private sector, let capitalism do its job, let the free enterprise system do its job.
What are some good examples of where the private sector has really excelled for you versus government?
Well, we've pushed all the manufacturing out of the country. We need to rebuild our manufacturing base.
You, of course, not want the government to go into healthcare at all.
it's not one of the 17 limited enumerated powers listed in the Constitution. So healthcare is not a province of the federal government.
If it was put in the Constitution.
But it's not in the Constitution. And that's the document we're supposed to be going by. Unfortunately, it seems the powers that be in Washington don't want to respect the Constitution.
How do you feel about this? Do you think money is really bought into politics, maybe more than ever? I've kind of wondered if maybe it's more $1, one vote instead of one person, one vote these days. Do you think money has...
Money is definitely a huge... in fact, I look with bittersweet apprehension on the law that was recently approved by, well, the ruling of the Supreme Court that allowed corporations then unlimited amount of funds, because one of the problems I see is special interests in big business controlling both parties. In other words, whoever buys the campaign financing, whoever pays for the campaign financing, is getting their agenda run in Congress, in Washington, D.C. I mean, when a guy who you think is a constitutional conservative goes to Washington, and 2 weeks later he's a rhino or a liberal, you're wondering, you're scratching your head. What happened? This guy, I knew this guy. He was a conservative. He was a good guy. He was a regular guy, a citizen representative, and he goes to Congress, and 2 weeks later, 2 months later, he's not fighting for my causes anymore. He's fighting for some globalist cause or some big business or special interest or pharmaceuticals or whatever it may be.
Do you have any appeal for some of those? Because I think people are complicated and nuanced. I know a bunch of libertarians in Minneapolis, and I'm not so sure they fit in here perfectly because you'd probably consider them liberal, but they would think of themselves as roundabout Republicans.
One of the great things about this movement is I'm a purist. I believe that the Constitution is the way we need to get back to. My values.
Well, they would say that too.
My values are, yes, my values are more libertarian, authoritarian even, but still conservative. And I would be happy to elect conservatives, particularly those that respect and will fight for the rights and the liberties that are protected by the Constitution.
You know, you would say this so well. Have you thought of yourself running or trying to take the step up?
I haven't, but maybe some local politics, the school board or something. But I haven't thought that far out. My ambition is strictly limited to helping the country to get back on our feet.
Have you read Malcolm Gladwell's book, The Tipping Point?
I haven't, but I've heard that term.
You probably get the gist of it, where we see, I think, a wave of thinking really going forward in this country. I don't think this is going to go away. And perhaps the thing that ties so many people together right now is their unhappiness with the current situation. Be it even on the left or right, I think everyone is currently unhappy. I
think what we see is that the progressives and their agenda have sort of taken over both parties. The radical, the energy in both parties is progressive. And even though we elect a Republican or a Democrat, it's still a win in some cases for the progressives. And I think what we need is something on the right, something on the Constitution side, something that says, we're going to fight for the Constitution.
Just half step from the Republican Party and go poke them in the ribs and say, wake up to this.
Well, you know, to some extent, I'm a lifelong Republican. I've been Republican for 30 years. But whether or not I vote Republican next time depends on whether they give me constitutional conservative candidates to vote for. If they don't give me constitutional candidates to vote for, then I'm going to take my vote elsewhere.
Good luck. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
One other question. What kind of session, what's your favorite session so far? What have you seen that really sparked you?
The Breitbart speech this morning. His presentation was excellent. He spoke to the heart.
Online, I'll try and take a look.
Yes, he really spoke to the heart of the issue with the mainstream media.
Will you be here tonight for Sarah?
I will.
Okay, well, have fun. Thanks.
Thank you.